Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Rosenberg with Mynd Property Management. Today, I am joined with Brandon Graham, who's the Phoenix portfolio manager for the Mynd operation. Brandon, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Steve.
So one of the questions we want to know is, can you ban vaping in a property or marijuana smoking? And is it equivalent to a smoking ban, or is it, and if so, how do you detect vaping to the common person that doesn't really understand it? And is there a challenge with letting them vape in a property?
Sure, absolutely. Obviously vaping has become more and more popular every year, and it's a growing concern for homeowners, landlords, both between vaping, cigarette smoke, marijuana usage. So you can certainly say that it's not allowed, it's not permissible in your property or even outside of your property, anywhere on the property line. Obviously, the control factor, no, there's no way you can 100% prevent somebody from doing these things. But what you can do is make sure that you have actionable penalties for them breaking the violations of the disease, right? So you state that there's no smoking in the property whatsoever. That includes marijuana, vaping, cigarettes. And then if they violate those terms, you have penalties in place that will make you whole, right? So obviously the reason to prevent these things is because as a landlord, you want to protect your investment. You want to make sure that its value remains high. If somebody is smoking cigarettes, especially in that property, it's going to damage the value of it. There's going to be a lot of work required to get the cigarette smell out of there. So again, we just make sure that there are penalties for them doing so. And it's not a common thing, right? Like, people are putting up a security deposit on these properties. They want to get that money back when they're done with the lease. And it's a whole other conversation, of course, with the qualification process up front to prevent these things from happening. But again, it's all about making sure that you have actionable consequences if they do those things. And in terms of the smell, so I'm no expert, but I can tell you that I've never been able to detect the smell of vaping inside of a property before. So I can tell you if a resident was vaping in there or not. Again, the concern is if they're doing things to hurt the value of your property. So
Right.
certainly cigarette smell is something that I've picked up on before in a property. It's something that's noted in the inspection, and we quickly get to work to get that treated, whether it be cleaning out the vents, doing an ozone treatment, repainting. And again, the resident's going to be responsible for all of those costs if they are smoking inside the property.
And so my understanding of vaping, when someone is vaping in a property, that the potential hazard is the residue that could go up into the ceiling and on the walls, that you don't see it, you don't smell it, but that there is a cloud of something that comes out of those contraptions.
Sure.
And it goes somewhere. So that was my understanding, that if somebody's doing it long enough, for let's say a couple years on a constant basis, that does adhere to the walls, which obviously causes a repaint, which is an expense that you would have to bear. And I was curious if there's a way to detect it, or any detection kits to emphatically prove. Maybe you get an inspection and they can, I don't know if they can, but be able to prove that, yes, there is residue on the walls, and that is directly related to vaping. I wasn't sure if that's.
Wow. Yeah, no, I've never encountered something like that in terms of like a kit or something to detect for it, but that's a great idea. If they do have something out there, that would be something that we would want to check for. And again, like, if there are, obviously what we would be checking for are physical signs of this, the smell as well. So if we did see that there was residue built up on the walls that's not consistent with normal wear and tear, then they're of course going to be charged for those things.
Right. And I think it's what boils down to this. You said it earlier, and you said it very well, is that, for people that are watching this and they're wondering how to prevent it, you can normally stop a lot of these challenges if you select the right tenant and you set the expectations when you're signing the lease with the tenant. If you're doing it yourself, when you hire a management company like Mynd, obviously we take care of that for you. But if you're going to do it yourself, you've got to make sure that all the challenges, or not all of them, but a large portion of challenges start and stop with resident selection. And so that's really what you want to think about. And then also you had alluded to it, that you need to do periodic inspections of the property. Do not let your investment just go away, and do not expect it to be taken care of to your standards. Number one, if you don't explain what those standards are and set the bottom line criteria for a resident, and more importantly, trust but verify. That's what an inspection does, is it verifies it.
Yeah, very well said, Steve. I mean, it's surprising to me. I've spoken to some landlords who have had the same resident in their home for 5 years and they've never gone to see the property. It's like, how do you know how well they're caring for the property? So yeah, here at Mynd, that's definitely something that's of utmost importance to us. Generally, at least 4 months before that lease is expired, we're getting out there to do a hands-on inspection, walk through every room, inside, outside, really make sure that they're taking care of the property. Then we know, do we value this resident? Do we want to keep them long-term, or do we need to get them out of there and do some improvements to the property and get somebody better in?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about running it like a business. And it's funny when I hear people tell me, I've had a property and I haven't looked at it for 5 years, it's been great. I tell them, what would you do if you had a bank account and you said, I didn't look at my bank account for 5 years and I'm so proud of myself? Yeah. That's not running your property and your business correctly. And that's basically what they're telling me, is that they are not running their business. They are just, it's like golfing at nighttime. They have no idea where that ball is going. They have no idea how their property looks. And that's a great analogy of them not doing that, like you said. So
yeah, like you said, I mean, there's a reason that we get depreciation on these properties every year with taxes, right? That the property is naturally going to depreciate. So unless you're actively maintaining it, your biggest probably investment, your asset is going to go down. The goal is to keep up with that investment. Correct. Make sure you're maintaining it to maximize your value.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Brandon, thank you so much. If somebody wants to get a hold of us at Mynd, how would they do that?
Yeah, best way to get us is on our websites, mind.co, and Mynd is spelled M-Y-N-D. You can also reach me personally via email. I'm at brandon.graham@mind.co.
And for those of you that want to know more about investing and be more involved in investing, we do have a Facebook group called the Mastermind, M-Y-N-D, Real Estate Investment Club. And there's a lot of great engagements going on and discussions about current industries and challenges that are going on from investors all over the country, as well as us having a podcast show. Podcast show is called The Mindful, M-Y-N-D, The Mindful Investor. It's on iTunes, Spotify, all the channels. Comes out every Friday. We have a new episode with leading industry experts in the real estate. And we talk about not only their wins, but more importantly, their challenges and how they've overcome them as investors, which may be relatable to some challenges you may come up with. So again, thank you very much for watching. This is Steve and Brandon, and we'll talk to you everyone later. Bye-bye.